Hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
All right, welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is Sunday, July 17th, 2022. I got a great show for everybody tonight. Peter Andersen of Alien Force, Jack Starr of Burning Star. What else can I say about such great guests? Both on tonight's show. We'll begin to both of them in a little while. We're going to play some music between now and then. Right there, Guardians of the Flame was the name of the band that featured Jack Starr and Ned Malone. He also plays in Burning Star with Jack. And my dear good old friend, Shmulik Avigal, Sammy. I miss Sammy. He passed away about 2 years ago. He was on my show many times over the years, and we had fun talking. He was such a great guy. So down to earth, and I do miss him. Also, Joe Hasselvander on drums. Joe's been on my show countless times also. I love talking to Joe. And we'll talk to Jack later on during tonight's show. And I think because I'm such a big fan of all of Jack's music and the bands and the projects he's been a part of, I think we're going to sprinkle a little bit more Jack Starr throughout tonight's show. Maybe we'll touch on all the bands and projects he's been a part of, as many as we can get on in the time that we have. All right, let's keep the music flowing here, and we'll get to our first guest, Peter Andersen, in about 15 minutes or so. How about a little Rogue Mail? Get off my back. Overkill, Deny the Cross. John was just saying in the chat how great that album still sounds, and it does. Those first two Overkill records were absolutely fantastic. I mean, the two after that were pretty good too, and then things started to change for the band. But they've been on fire for the last 10 years, putting out one great record after the next, and I know they're in the studio right now working on their new one. Slim chance we might get it in 2022, more than likely beginning of 2023. So next year's already looking like we have a lot to look forward to. And right before that, we had Power Lord with Malice and Rogue Mail, Get Off My Back. All right, well, I guess everybody heard there's I guess you can call it a Pantera reunion. I've never been a fan of Pantera, I have to be honest with you. If I do like any of the music, it's the early albums with Terry Glaze. I don't like anything with Phil Anselmo in the band. And I've just never been a fan of them in general. So, I mean, this doesn't really matter to me. I can care less. But this is what this is one of the things I talk about all the time and I get upset about. This is what's wrong with metal. I mean, there'll be a ton of promoters now that are going to go out there and try to get them to play because under the name Pantera. I mean, Phil Anselmo's been out there doing like all Pantera sets for one of his other bands. He's got like 2 or 3 bands going on. I don't know if it's the Illegals or another band, but he does pretty much an old Pantera set anyway. So what do you have, Rex Brown in the band now? Let's be honest, one of the least effective members of the group, and anybody cares about. Pantera really was the Abbott brothers. I mean, Phil wasn't even a part of that original lineup. I mean, I know he was part of the classical lineup and the one that most of the fans like, but I just don't get it. This is what's going on. This weekend they had the Keepers of Metal Festival or something in Mexico. I don't remember the name of it. And, they promoted the Savage Grace reunion. The Savage Grace, it was just Chris Logue playing with the band Voltex. They did this, they played their own set, and Chris Logue played along with them. They did a Savage Grace set of music. How is that a Savage Grace reunion? Just Chris Logue. Yes, Chris Logue has been the one constant in the band when they were together, but they've had so many different lineups. I mean, there were different singers on every single Savage Grace record. I think the bass player and the drummer actually went through on a couple of records, but there's been no consistent lineup. If you want to get a Savage Grace reunion, get John Burke and Kenny Powell up there and let that be part of it. And then I would love to pay to see that. Not just Chris Logue who goes and comes. He's got his medical practice, I guess, and all that other shit going on. That's not a reunion, but people go out there and they crave it and they buy the tickets for it and they want it. And this is one of the problems. The same thing with Merciful Fate. Probably one of my all-time favorite bands. I think it was like 81 or 82. We had a radio station in New Jersey. Back then it was little college radio stations that played metal. And Gene Corey was the DJ. I think it was from Montclair State University. And he had played A Corpse Without Soul. And, he didn't mention the name of the band. He just said the song. And, it was, I heard this high-pitched vocals coming on. And that's when I became a Merciful Fate fan. And I followed him until the day they broke up. I went with King Diamond when he went solo. Hank Sherman did the band Fate, which was a real commercial AOR pop-type band in the beginning. They got a little heavy as they went on. But when I say heavy, I mean they made Def Leppard sound like a thrash metal band. I mean, they weren't really heavy at all. And I followed them till then. But when I heard about the reunion, I kept talking about it for years. I hope it happens. I hope it happens. They waited until Timmy passed away. Kim Russ, I don't think medically could play anymore. I think he's got issues, medical problems, so he really can't get out there. And then they excluded Michael Denner. He's been doing interviews again lately, and where he was talking about like he felt like he was blindsided, that they put the band back together without notifying him and letting him know. And he thinks that it happened, it's King Diamond that's doing it because he wasn't happy about the Denner Sherman album cover because they used the same artist as Merciful Fate, and it was too reminiscent of a Fate album cover. Meanwhile, it was Dennis Sherman project. Hank Sherman was a part of that also, so he didn't take it out on Hank Sherman, just Michael Denner. I don't get that. I wanted to see that classic lineup. They waited too long. It didn't happen. But you know what? They threw a ragtag band together, which is really just, you got a couple of known players in there that played with King Diamond and the bass player from Mama Saint. But, out of that original lineup, it's just, Hank Sherman and King Diamond. When they could have had all the original members if they did this a few years back, it would have happened, but now it doesn't. But you know what? It doesn't matter to them because the other guys are getting paid a salary of playing. Michael Denner and Hank Sherman and King Diamond are splitting the bulk of the money. So they don't really need Michael Denner there because every show is sold out. They're playing in front of packed houses. So when things like this happen, with Merciful Fate getting back together with just King Diamond and Hank Sherman, Pantera with Phil Anselmo and Rex Brown, Savage Grace with Chris Logan, all these other bands that have one member, most of the time it's not even a real key member of the band, or an original member of the band, the fans are still going out and buying tickets. And I can only think that these are fans that were born in the late 80s and are reliving an era that wasn't theirs or belonged to them. And they want to say that they saw all these bands that we saw when they were in their prime and playing with the original members. But I blame us. I blame the fans. If you keep buying tickets to these shows when these bands play without the original members, for one reason or the other, I get it if the members passed away. I get it if some of the members aren't interested anymore, but that's not the case most of the time. It's a greed thing. They think they're going to make a lot of money, and some of these bands can make some money doing it. So they eliminate everybody else. They put a few guys on a salary, and they keep the bulk of the money themselves. That's my opinion. When bands do that, I think it absolutely sucks. So don't go to see these bands, don't support them, don't see the shows, and eventually you'll get that classic lineup back together if it can happen, or they won't dilute the metal scene by putting these half-ass fucking versions of these bands together. That just pisses me off to no end. To no end whatsoever. Alright, we're going to get back to the music right now because we're going to get to Peter Andersen from Alien Force in a few minutes. We'll do one more set. And since we were talking about Merciful Fate and Gene Corey, the only reason I came and I became such a big Fate fan because, like I said, Gene Corey played A Corpse Without Soul on his show, but he never mentioned the name of the band. And back then, DJs did that a lot. They would play a couple of songs, sometimes they would mention the name of the band, sometimes they wouldn't. So I went to the record store in '82 and I found the import, the original, EP from Merciful Fate on the shelf. I grabbed it off because, you had a naked nun on the cover hanging on a cross. And holy shit, this is wild. I got to get it. I saw a title on there. I said, oh, this is the band that he played. That's why I always announce the name of the band and the song when I do my show. Sometimes I repeat them twice because you do get people and fans that haven't heard these songs before. They're listening to my show for the first time. Maybe they're hearing these bands for the first time. So I always say the name of the band and the song so they know. So here you go. Merciful Fate. We're going to do some, let's do Nuns Having No Fun.
sinners lie in chains. Every life has gone astray to the realms of death decay. Technocratic terror is no more. Signs of man are torn. This world can start to breathe again. The inception of the end. Future shock. A nightmare from the past you can't defeat.
when I thought we were going to have one great guitar player from New York today with Jack Starr, but Gerard stopped by. That's his band, the Merricade, on the prowl of their debut record. They were such a great band. And, from Brooklyn, New York. I mean, I'm still here in New York, in Staten Island these days, but what a killer outfit. Gerard and his brother, Dave Spitz on bass, Walt Woodward on drums. What an absolutely great band. Check them out if you can. All right, we're going to get to the first interview tonight with Peter Andersen from Alien Force. How about we start with a little classic Alien Force? We'll do Ripper and go right to that interview. especially since I've been a fan of the band going back to 1985.
Yeah, you too. Nice to talk to you.
You too. It's a pleasure. I have to tell you, I was so happy, a few years back when you decided to give the band another go for the Keep It True
Yes.
Festival, and because of that,
Yes.
we got another brand new record, the first one in like 30 years.
Yes.
So
That's
I
right.
mean, for all the people that aren't familiar with the band, there's a lot of new fans out there. Let's kind of go
Yeah.
back to the very beginning for them, so they get to know a little bit about Alien Force.
Yes. 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 We can do that.
Alien
Force. Yeah.
I know the band, people think the band came around, like 84, 85, but it was really around quite a few years before that as a different name.
Yes, it was. It was in 1981, and the name of the band was Psyking. It was the first name of the band, and we played some just ordinary rock and roll, and we made one single with two numbers on with the Psyking, and after that. About 1 year after, we changed our name to Alien Force, and yeah,
Alien Force.
The heavy metal stage in Denmark wasn't that big. It was there was not too many bands playing heavy metal in Denmark, so it was very difficult for us to play some gig in Denmark.
Yeah, well, Alien Force definitely has a much more metal-sounding name than Zyking.
Yes,
so
yes.
It fit the band better at the time.
And I don't know. Yeah, and I don't know where the name came from. Psyking. It was a crazy name. I don't know. Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Crazy name.
Everybody just joined the band and had a name.
Yeah, and we recorded the single in a garage in near Copenhagen, and we had to do it. Got pressed in Sweden. About 500 copies, but when we returned from Sweden to Denmark, 495 of them was crashed in the mail. So we only had 5 left, and we couldn't get any, from the Swedish post. They wouldn't pay. So we stood there with 5 copies of Psyking. So it's very rare. It's
Absolutely.
a very rare thing. Yeah.
So in 1984, you become Alien Force. Is it a whole new
Yes,
start for the band now?
One more time, excuse me.
So now the band becomes Alien Force. Is it a whole new beginning for the band? Did you feel like you were starting over now, and this was going to be the new thing?
Yeah, but the lineup was the same from Psyking. On the drum we had the Michael Rasmussen and his brother, on guitar Henrik Rasmussen, and on the bass Frank East. And me as a singer. So the lineup was the same. The lineup was the same. So, but we started up there in 1984 with the new name Alien Force. That's right.
Yeah. And that produced Hell and High Water in 1985,
Yes,
which today is still a classic record by anybody's standards.
Yes, and we, yeah, but we only found out 30 years after that it was. We didn't know that. We didn't know that at all. Yeah, so it was funny, but it's the internet that did that for us.
Well, when the record came out in '85, I mean, heavy metal was at kind of like its peak. It just started really getting big. I mean, even like in your area, I mean, you had Artillery, Evil. I mean, Merciful Fate was the main band from there.
Yes.
Kim Six,
Yes,
Maltese Falcon, a lot of bands.
Yes. And we had a lot of gigs with them in Denmark. We made some heavy metal marathon concerts. We had the same manager, all the bands, and he made some where we played 12 bands Friday and Saturday over 2 days. So that's what we did back in those days. So, but it was nice.
Yeah. Was the scene in the mid-'80s, like 85, 86, a little better now? Because people forget, we didn't have the internet back then. It was people writing each other and fans telling each other about bands they know, and that's how bands kind of, got big.
Yeah.
Was there enough of a scene going on at that point in time in Denmark for the band to really grow?
No, it could grow, but it was very slowly. It was
Yeah.
growing very slowly. We didn't have that many gigs at that time, so it was difficult for us and the other bands to play. There was, of course, the King Diamond, and King Diamond who got a hold through with his kind of music. So, but we were staying there in the background.
Yeah. But you followed up Hell and High Water 1 year
Yes.
later with Pain and Pleasure, and it was
Yes.
another great
Yeah.
record, a great follow up. But then
Yeah.
we never heard from
Yeah.
the band after that.
No, we. I mean, it was in 1989. Maybe we split up, and Henrik, the guitar player, and his brother Michael, and me, we made another band called Bad Medicine, where we made one record, and it was more light rock and roll. But we got a lot of job on this record because we were so lucky that we were played in the radio, because it was more listening at that time, maybe for the Danish people. We got a hold through with Bad Medicine at that time, more than we had with Alien Force.
Well, it was definitely. I mean, the music was changing by the mid '80s to the late
Yes,
'80s. It was more
yes,
commercial sounding. You had more of
yes,
the hair metal.
yeah,
So was it a
yes,
conscious effort to change your music just to try to stay relevant with the changing times?
Excuse me one more time.
When Alien Force ended, was it more so the band could be more like a commercial sounding band, to gain more access?
Yes. Europe came, and the more pop heavy metal came, and yes, we tried a little after Alien Force with the New Name Gallery, where we played, where we got keyboard. We made some numbers with the keyboard, but we didn't succeed with that. So after that, we split up and made a Bad Medicine.
Yeah.
3 of us from the band, yeah.
And Bad Medicine went on for a couple of years before that ended in the 90s.
Yes, that's right. I think it stopped in 1996.
Yeah.
We played maybe about 4 years, yeah.
I think
That's
most
right.
of the good rock and metal ended in 96 for everybody.
Yeah. but the other, if we had to go back to Pain and Pleasure, then we made our own record company, Alien Records, and made it and paid by ourselves.
That's right. For the second record, you put that out on your own label, Pain and Pleasure.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did that.
That was kind of rare back then for a band that make their own label and release their own record. That was not really a big thing.
No, but it was very difficult for us. We had with Hell and High Water. We had a record deal with a German company. Chillac Records was the name of it, and that was okay. We were very happy for that. But the other record, we made it ourselves. So
yeah,
we paid about 100,000 Danish kroner for that. So
that was a lot of money back then for a band to come up with.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. But it went okay.
Yeah, there were two great records back to back, and I always wish that we had more. But things in life happened. The band changed names, broke up. But then it was around 2008 that I heard you guys were getting back together. Most of that classic lineup was a part of it, and that didn't go too long either, a year or two. But I heard a band member died back then also, so that was probably why.
But we had also but I forgot we had also the guitar who suddenly died from us, Michael Wenzel, who sadly died from us. He was on the second album.
Yeah,
Michael Wenzel. Yeah. And then, as you said, in 2008, I got some fan letters from Colombia and from Japan and from all over the world. Said, "Why are you not playing?" And we didn't knew that we were known in the world. So we started up a little bit in Michael's studio and made about 5 or 6 numbers. But sadly he died from cancer, liver cancer. Yeah, and then we broke up because we couldn't play without him.
But 10 years later, maybe 8 years later, Keep It True Festival
Yeah.
called you guys. And
Yeah,
when the
yeah,
internet came out, did you was that when you realized that the band has such a big and loyal following when the internet was around?
yes. It's a funny story because Henrik, the guitar player, and I sat down here and we had a couple of beers, and suddenly I got a messenger call from Keep It True Festival from Oliver, and he wrote if we want to play at the festival, and we didn't use the festival at all, so we talked with him. I said yes, okay, and we didn't ask the other guys, but afterwards we of course did, and then we were on, and then we went down there to Germany in a car and had a great success down there. Keep It True. It was very, very nice, and people knew all the lyrics and all our songs, so we were very surprised.
Yeah,
Very surprised.
It's a great festival. I mean, were you planning on just going there, doing the festival, and that would have been it for the band, or was the reaction that you got from there? Did you say, "Hey, let's keep this going"?
Yes. Among that, yes, we were very surprised that they knew all our numbers, and they were very happy. And at that concert, we got 4 other concerts where we there. France, Spain, England, and Sweden.
Yeah.
Because people saw us down there, there was some. Yeah, so we got. It was very great for us. So it was an opening job for us. If you can say it that way.
Yeah.
I'm
glad that it all worked out because it's keeping. Not only that, but we have a brand new record last year. We meet again, and it couldn't be a better title. Like meeting up with old friends once again.
Yes, that's right. That's the name of the title of the yes. And it's about it's 85. It's 34 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A long time. I mean, was this record all written brand new from now, or were there parts of this album that maybe went back to the early days?
No.
Because it sounds like such a great follow-up to the last record.
Yeah, so we didn't knew that much because it was Henrik who had written all the record and all the lyrics, and he made it at home in his kitchen, all the numbers, and he presented them for us, and and then we went in and recorded the album. So and we got a record deal with Target Records. Danish record label. So it was crazy, and 34 years after.
And it just sounds so much like Alien Force. When there's such a gap between albums, you figure the band's going to change. So I guess it was an effort to kind of make it sound like the old Alien Force, but it's very updated too.
Yes, it is, and maybe you can hear that it's Henrik who writes the number, because he got he's very good at writing songs.
Yeah, they're all great on here. So now that the album's out, and Alien Force is like officially back now, we have new music.
Yes.
I mean, where do we go from here? Is there going to be more albums coming out? Are you going to just look to concentrate on festivals?
For now, we concentrate on festivals. We have to here in 27th. We play in Hamburg, and we play in August in Munich, and we play in December. We play Barcelona.
That's great.
Yeah, it's so great, and but it's 30 years too late.
I know, but glad that you're back and doing it. I mean, is it more fun now because in the earlier days, there's always that pressure on a band to make it. We have to make it, and it causes fights and it causes problems with management and record labels. Is it just having a good time now where there's no pressure?
Yes. Right, there's no pressure. We're having a very fun time, and we got a new guitar player on too because we made a lot of guitars on the record. So we had a new guitar player, and it's a funny story. He was when we were playing in 1981. He was we were practicing in kindergarten, and there was a guy there. He was 10 years old, and he went down to listen to us. and he's now playing in our band. He's
Wow.
44 years old now. And Jonas rocks. He's 40, about in his 40s now, younger than us, but he's a fan and a member of the band.
That's
So
great.
it's very funny. Yeah, it's a great story. So yeah,
Oh,
and
that
it's a very
that
nice
is a
guy.
great story.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
the band, I mean, you've been playing out as a four-piece for quite a while now, so having the second
yeah.
guitar player must be a big help. I'm more impressed that,
Yes.
it's all you
Yes.
guys really from the classic lineup that are still together and playing all these years later.
Yeah.
That's
And
rare.
it's very rare. Normally, there's only one or two left in the band, but we're full. We're full lineup.
Yeah.
But the extra, Jonas rocks as an extra member of the band.
Yeah.
So it lifted when there's only bass, when Henrik got to play solo guitar, there's only bass. It was hard for Henrik to fill the gap.
Yeah.
But now we have two guitars. It's great. It's great now. So.
Do you remember the first time you guys had gotten back together after many, many years apart? And
Yeah.
then did everything kind of come back to you? Is it like riding a bicycle where you get back on it again and you remember? Or was there a lot of work trying to remember all the lyrics, how songs went? Was it difficult?
Yeah. It's the lyrics, yes. But in the meantime, while we're Bad Medicine and Alien Force were lying still, we played some copy music. So we all weren't that rusty when we get to practice.
Yeah.
So we played in some cover bands. So we weren't that rusty. But you're right, we have to practice. With 30 years you have played the number, you have to practice.
It happens. Yeah. I don't know if I missed this or not, but I heard that you re-released the Get It Out, like the King version, quite some time back. Did that happen?
Excuse me one more time?
Get It Out, the first single that you guys
Yes.
had. I heard that was re-released, and I never saw that. Was it quite a while ago?
Yeah, but Get It Out was on the record Psyching, but we took it with us to Helen High
Alien
Water.
Force.
Get It Out. Yeah,
Yeah.
Alien Force. Get It Out, and that's especially in that number, people know the lyrics when we out playing.
Yeah, that was a big song for a lot of fans, and it's amazing that it
Yes.
goes that far back and people still want to hear it.
Yeah. We have to play the old songs. When we play now, we take maybe 3 or 4 of the new songs, and the rest from Helen High Water and some number from Pain and Pleasure.
Yeah.
And Pain and Pleasure is being recorded again now. It will come out again now. There's a label who,
They're going to
Put it
re-release
out,
the
yeah.
record?
Yeah, we released it again. Yeah, Pain and Pleasure, and Helen High Water has been re-released about 4 times now.
Yeah.
And one day and maybe 10 years ago, I was looking at the internet and I saw that Helen High Water, $100 was the price for the vinyl record. It was crazy.
It's hard, for people that weren't around back then and able to buy it. It was impossible to get it. But over the years, people have downloaded it and gotten another way. So it's great that the albums have been re-released for the fans to buy. Especially now, everybody's buying vinyl again. So vinyl is making a big comeback.
Yeah. And then when you say like vinyl, we have some problem with the new movie Meet Again, because I don't know if this is right, but I think that when the English singer Adele, she stole all the vinyl, so there was nothing left for the other bands. So we have waited now about 6 months to get it pressed, but I think it will come now here in July, maybe August.
I hope so. That'll be a great treat for the summer.
Yeah, it should have been out in January maybe. Yeah. So we waited a long time for that.
Have you thought about putting out a live record, recording one of the shows live and releasing a live record? It would be great for people to hear the band live. They can't get over to Europe to see you.
It's a good idea. We didn't thought about that. It's a good idea to make a live album. Artillery did it here in Copenhagen. They played Copenhagen here in Copenhagen, and they made a live album there.
Oh, that'd be great. Well, Copenhagen, for people that know, is probably one of the biggest festivals over there, and you guys were a part of it this past year.
We didn't play there, but we hope that we will be part of that. Maybe next year if we are lucky.
Yeah.
Because I think that our label has a big impact on Copenhagen. So we hope that we can go to that festival maybe next year again.
Yeah.
It would be great.
Do you have anything coming up, like in the near future, right away, immediately that you want to mention? Any shows coming up, like this summer?
As I told you, we were playing in Hamburg here, on July 27th, and we play Munich month after that, and Barcelona in December.
That'll be great. Hey, Peter,
Yeah.
I'm not going to keep you, also because I'm paying for this phone call. It's getting really expensive.
Yes, yes, it's expensive, but we could have done it in a messenger.
I know they never record right. It doesn't sound right when you play it back on the radio station. For some reason, it's very staticky. So here I could clean it up and fix up any audio. So,
Okay.
but it was great talking today, and I want to get on a couple of songs off of all the albums, and I hope that one day you can make it here to the USA, because I would love to see Alien Force
I would
live.
like to, and the race is in New York.
Yep.
Yes, it's crazy. New York too. We would love to play in New York.
Yeah.
It would be too crazy. So yes.
Well, I hope it can happen. But I'm always over in Europe, so I'm going to keep an eye out for where you guys are playing.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
head over
You're
at that
welcome.
time.
Yeah, you're welcome if you come to Denmark. You come then we could talk to them a bit, drink a beer.
Definitely, the beers are on me, my friend.
Yes.
Okay. Peter, you take care, Peter. Have a great night. Thank you.
Yeah, you too, and yes. Have a nice day and evening. What time is it over now in New York?
Over here, it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon.
Okay. Yes.
So we're still early here. I know it's a lot later for you.
Mike, nice to speak to you.
You too, Peter. Thank you, my friend. Take care. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.
They came from the mountains, they came from the sea, came from the rightness to bear, hoping for justice, gathered their men, together they promised never to happen again, but facing the heart they grow. Fighting to prove they not wrong. Fighting the fight they believe to be right. Believe by the soul. Rebellions. 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 Scared of the haters. Curse all the fair, believing in justice, a man to declare, with faith in the heart they control, fighting to prove they're not wrong, fighting the fight they believe to be right, believe by the soul, rebellions, rebellions. Rebellions! Rebellions! They're waiting for decades, they're waiting for time. Waiting for sinners to pay for the crime. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. One more rebellion decided to fight. so you can taste the way I feel. Wheels on fire, wheels on fire, wheels on fire. Nothing in the world gonna take me higher. Wheels on fire, wheels on fire, wheels on fire. Nothing in the world gonna take me higher. Don't lose control, let the wheels turn. Smell the heat, watch the car burn. Spread your wings, let your fuse blow. Rip it out, let's hit the road. Sail man, get ready to roll on this wheel. So you can taste the way I feel. Wheels on fire, wheels on fire, wheels on fire. Nothing in the world gonna take me higher. Wheels on fire, wheels on fire, wheels on fire. Nothing in the world gonna take me higher. Wheels on fire, wheels on fire, wheels on fire. Nothing in the world gonna take me higher.
All right, we started that off with Alien Force and Rebellions off the latest record, and right there, Bad Medicine, Wheels on Fire, post Alien Force, I guess. I forgot all about that record. It was a really good hard rock record. I mean, it wasn't as commercial as they make it sound. I know they were going in a different direction, but it was a pretty good sounding album. All right, you know what? We're going to get to Jack Starr in about 10 minutes, so let's do a couple of, how about we do some Virgin Steel and do another project of Jack Starr called Devil Child, and we'll go right into the interview after that, and we'll wrap up tonight's show with a couple of tracks off the brand new record. So let's go back to the early days. Here's Virgin Steel, Danger Zone.
Wheels
right, Devil Child from 1985. The lineup of this band was also the core lineup of Guardians of the Flame that we started out tonight's show with, just under different names. We had Anton Phipps on bass, which was Ned Maloney. Matthew Hopkins on vocals and drums, which was Joe Hasselvander. And Lucifer himself, Jack Starr, on guitar. All right, let's get to the interview with Jack right now.
Mike?
Hey, Jack, it's Mike. How you been?
Good, man. Long time we didn't talk.
I know. You know how we can solve that? Put out a new record every year. We'll be talking all the time.
That's right.
Well, listen, I'm glad that there is a new record out. It's been about 4 or 5 years since the last album, and I tell you, you nailed it again. I don't know how you keep doing it. 40 years, dozens of records. You never disappoint.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. I guess, I just love what I'm doing. It's just what I started off doing as a kid. I'm still enjoying it.
It's true. I mean, 40-something years. I mean, when you first got started, I mean, there's always that hope that you can make it. You could make this as a living. The band's going to hit. I mean, did you think about that 40-something years ago? Was it more like, hey, we're just going to get together, write music, and have fun? Or was it from the mindset from the beginning to make this your job, to make this your career?
When I started out, really, it was exactly what you just said. It was a bunch of friends getting together, having fun, jamming, trying to play some of the songs that we like, One thing led to another, and it was like, hey, why don't we write our own stuff? That kind of thing, And here we are 100 years later.
It's incredible. Well, Souls of the Innocent is another great record. And like I says, if you go back to Rock the American Way, which is technically, I guess, the first Burning Star record, one thing, you've always surrounded yourself with incredible singers. I mean, going back to your other bands, I'm not even getting at all the singers I played with you on different records, but, I mean, just here alone, I mean, you had Mike Torelli in there in the beginning, an amazing, amazing vocalist. I mean, Todd Michael Hall, nothing can be talked about with that guy. You had Frank Vestry in the very beginning, and now Alex Panza. Do you really, I mean, is it just pot luck that you find these great guys, or do you really go out of your way to find who's going to fit best with your music?
You know what? I'm starting to think it's just luck at this point, because it's just pretty amazing, for lightning to strike like 3 or 4 times in a row. And you consider, look, Todd Michael Hall, it was like, I always thought he was great, but then you get the confirmation when a national TV show like The Voice says you're great, and you get to sing in front of 100 million people, so it's crazy, Then same thing with Mike Torelli. I thought Mike was great, and all these reviewers were saying he was great. And now, he's got videos on YouTube with like 1 million views, with that thing that he does with some of the guys, from various bands. I think they call themselves the Nerds or something. They do like White Snake, and they do Dio, and they do it perfectly. So... And then he gets like tremendous amount of views. It's crazy.
Yeah, true. How'd you come across Alex? I mean, I know him from the band Hittin', but I mean, how did you come across him?
We actually, we were looking for a singer for like 2 years. And let me tell you, it was not easy because, it's like Todd Michael Hall left some really big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
And we interviewed a bunch of guys, and then we were told that Alex would be like available, and he was really excited to play with us, and then we brought him out to do some shows in Florida. We flew him in, and just because we wanted to be 100% sure that this wasn't just somebody that can go into a recording studio and sound great, and then when you get up on stage with him, it's like, oh, hey, what happened here?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you definitely didn't rush into it. You picked them out. I mean, when you think about like a lot of sitcoms that come on TV, those first episodes, those pilot ones, you watch them like that doesn't remind me anything of the band, the show that I'm going to see later on when they all get together and it jives. Did you feel it right away with him when you got together in that room?
Yeah, as soon as we got together with Alex, it was like, wow. It's like, where did this guy come from? Because you got to remember, he's like 29 years old, and we're all old enough to be his father. I don't know if he was even born when I put out my first albums with Virgin Steel and then with Burning Starr. Because let's see, let's say he's 30. Yeah, he would. The first album would have been 1990 for him to have even been born.
Yeah.
But in actuality, he wasn't. He was not even really. He was not even born. I just thought of it now. Wow. But so he came onto this music. It's just like amazing how he here's a young guy, but obviously the music that we all grew up with and loved made a big impression on him.
True. Jack, when you look back from the earlier records, No Turning Back, Rock the American Way, it's every album is distinctive in its own right, and everything kind of falls into place because you're like the link between all of them. Your guitar playing is very distinctive, so when I hear a song and I hear your guitar playing, I know it's Jack Starr. That defines to me your sound and your band. But each one was sort of like its own sort of chapter. Maybe with each singer was a different chapter, or when the band kind of broke up for a while and got back together. I mean, do you consider like each era of the band different chapters or each decade, or is it all one continuous run to you?
No, I think I think they are different chapters, and like you mentioned, I really did take a pretty long break before Ned, the bass player, and I got back together. We got back together, it was like around 2003. I moved to Florida in 2004 and Ned had already been living there. And so after we got together, in 2003 in Florida and we were working on music again, I thought to myself, this is so cool. Here's a guy that I know and I'm comfortable playing with, and we like each other's personalities. Maybe I should just be in Florida, and we could, it's kind of like, that old cliche, hey, let's put the band back together.
Yeah. You and Ned have been together a long time, longer than most married couples have been together. So there's obviously something there that works,
Yeah, honestly, it's really like mutual respect. I mean, when he comes up with an idea, I'm like, okay, I want to hear it and let's try it out. Not, the bass player came up with it, so I don't want to use it. Some of these people in metal bands or in just any band, they're very egoed out. They think that if it doesn't come from them, it can't be good. And I have the opposite, feeling, which is, I work with Ned, I love his musical ideas. I love his input, his arrangement ideas. And so I think that's why we work together well, and even the fact that he's just an incredible bass player, I mean, if he was a dick and an incredible bass player, it would be tempting to have him in the band anyway. But this is like very cool. He's a nice guy and he plays great. What more?
Yeah.
And he looks really good too. He's got really great.
Got that long hair going still.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, all good.
Absolutely. I can't even name every band that you've been a part of. I mean, you mentioned Virgin Steel. Everybody knows you from that back in the day. There's Devil's Child, there's Phantom Lord. You played with Joe Hasselvan. You did Guardians of the Flame. I mean, so many bands that talk about it. And it's funny because with Burning Starr being around for almost, since '84, basically, I mean, people will still go back to Virgin Steel. And when you think about it, as great as those first two records are, they're really just a little blip on the radar of your entire career.
Yeah, that's true. And sometimes I think about that, and I'm thinking, it's kind of funny that a lot of times, I still get, labeled, ex-Virgin Steel guitar player, Burning Starr guitar player. And I'm thinking, why? I did 2 albums and an EP like 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's exactly like what you said, it's a blip on the radar. That's what it is. And it was a cool blip, and I enjoyed it. And I will never say anything bad about it because it opened a lot of doors.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about it. Virgin Steel was kind of there at the very beginning of the scene, especially here in New York. I mean, you were kind of like the forefounders of like what was going to take place over the years to come. You guys kind of started a lot of stuff, so I think maybe that's why. But when you think about, it, I mean, over the years you've gone effortlessly through, like seamlessly through blues music, hard rock, heavy metal. You melded it all together. You've done it separately. I mean, it's kind of when you think about it, it's really impressive what you've put out over the last couple of decades.
Yeah, and I always feel really fortunate, that, here I am, it's 2022 and I can still get record deals and we just signed to Global Rock Records. It's a new label, great new label because they believe in the artists that they sign. And, especially Brian Adams, who's the owner of the label. And also, we have a new manager, Giles Lavery, and he manages some other bands from the '80s, like Alcatraz. He was managing them. The band Girls School from England, and I think he was. Oh yeah, he also manages Chris Impellitteri, the guitar player. So he's pretty firmly entrenched, in the metal world, and so it's cool, here we are, with a new manager, a new record label, and a new singer. So I feel in a way that, I'm very fortunate that I can just keep going, and I'm reinventing myself a little bit, because of that, but yet it's still recognizable.
Oh, absolutely. Without a doubt. That's like I say, I know from your guitar playing, I mean, there's a certain style you have, a certain tone, a certain vibe, and when I hear it, I'll say right away, that's something Jack Starr's doing. I can tell right away. And that's, to come up with a guitar sound that's so identifiable, there's a lot of work that goes into that, I would think.
Yeah, it's funny that you mention it because it's really, I mean, this is just a little note to guitar players that might be listening. It's really all about the vibrato. Like different guitar players have different, vibrato, and I can kind of identify like, is it Clapton? Is it Leslie West? Is it Michael Schenker? Is it Gary Moore? It's just kind of like the way they approach the note and the way they sustain and bend the notes, So I think that, I've been playing like, I don't know, about 50 years now. So I think I have my own way of like bending, the notes. And it's kind of it's kind of a mix of like Leslie West, who was a huge influence on me, and then some of the blues guys, like B.B. King and Albert King, and then guys like Carlos Santana, and of course Gary Moore, great guitar player.
Yeah, incredible guitar player. When I think about all the albums that you've put out over the years, I mean, have you ever just hit a wall where you just said, I don't know where to go next, I don't know what to do, I'm out of ideas, or did it just keep coming to you as you keep trying, or is it effortlessly on your part?
Well, yeah, it does get harder sometimes because, the thing is, and it's kind of a mixed blessing, okay? If you have come off a really great record, that got great reviews, then you have to, in the back of your mind, when you're writing songs and recording, you're thinking, oh boy, I gotta do something that's as good as what I did last time, and the time before, and the time before. So it kind of, there's some pressure there,
Do you work better under pressure, or do you just need that time to think about what you're doing and make it happen? Does your best work come out of you, I should say, when you just go out there and go for it, or do you really sit down and have to think about it, plan it, work on the parts of the songs?
I think that I actually work better under pressure. Like I need a timeline. Like I need, I need people pushing me. Like I'll push them too, but they need to push me. Like I can't tell you how many times, I was recording with Ned and Rhino, sitting next to me as I'm, struggling with, getting really great guitar tracks. And, they'll say, you can do better. And I'm just about, like, I don't know. You sure, guys? You really want me to do, take number 11,
Yeah.
And I don't know. And I'll do it, And then sometimes after take 11, sometimes we go back to take number 1 and realize that was it. That was the best take, And then sometimes, like, I'll give you a case in point. Like, there's a really cool song on the new album. It's a song that Ned actually wrote, pretty much with no help from me. It's called Ships in the Night. And so we're recording that song, and, there's like about a, 30, 40-second little gap for me to do a guitar solo. And I'm playing pretty much what's coming off the top of my head, and which was actually, I don't know if I was in a Stevie Ray Vaughan mood that day or what, but that's what was coming out. And Ned and Rhino are just looking at me like, nah, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
We're a metal band. And okay, so take number 3. Let me change a couple of notes. They're looking at me, nah, it still sounds too bluesy. So in that particular song, I think I got to like take number 8.
Wow.
And basically I took all the blues notes out of it, but I still phrased it like a blues solo. So basically what I was coming up with was more like a Michael Schenker, Gary Moore thing, because those guys really phrase like they're blues guitar players, but then just not really playing any blues notes. And that's what I ended up doing on some of the songs that were like that my solos might have been a bit too bluesy.
Yeah. Well, don't you think blues in a way kind of has its, I should say hard rock and heavy metal, have its roots in the blues scene, because they all kind of go hand in hand. They're all kind of, all of us sort of evolved from the blues in a way.
Yeah, you're right. And so for me, it's not really like a big leap, from blues, to metal. I think the thing that makes like, a guitar player like Gary Moore, that makes him, liked by metalheads, even though he's not a metal guitar player, is just the passion, the intensity that he played with. The guy was ripping into notes, just like Zakk Wylde does, just like Leslie West does, Michael Schenker. So that's the similarity, it's that attack, and so I do that. And that's actually why sometimes, some guys that are totally into blues might not like what I'm doing, because I'm approaching that thing like metal, So it's like you can't really please everybody. But one thing is sure, I play with a lot of, emotion, I really I don't try to like, phone it in or dial it in. I want to do it. I want to kind of go for the throat, let the guitar, let it rip, hit the pinched harmonics, and that's, it's kind of worked for me, so I keep doing it.
It's true, because you talk about Gary Moore like that, and he's definitely one of my all-time favorite players. And it's true, he was always blues-based from day one, basically. But I think it was Victims of the Future that kind of put him into the heavy metal realm. That's where he sort of came on the radar for metalheads with that record. And they just accepted it. And it became, I thought that was so cool at the time. It was like, everybody's talking about Gary Moore, but like, he's like a blues guy. Well, he's not metal. But that album, I think, just opened them up to a whole new audience.
Exactly. And same thing really with Schenker. I mean, Schenker, if he wanted to, could probably do an incredible blues album. Same thing with Ritchie Blackmore, Those guys have really, deep roots. And yet, so many metal guitar players have been like influenced, by Blackmore or by Tony Iommi, who started off, he had a blues band. I think it was called Earth Blues Band, which was before, they switched to Black Sabbath.
That's right. Really, you go back to that era, the late 60s, heavy metal really didn't exist in the way that we know it now, so it was all evolving from that scene.
Yeah, and that's another thing, too. What you're saying is, Totally correct. So I think, like if people check out the album, Souls of the Innocent, they're going to be surprised because it's not really exactly like another metal album. It's different. I'm not saying it's like 100% different or that we reinvented the wheel. I don't think I don't think we did, but I think there's something about it that's different.
I agree. I can't put my finger on it because I've played it over and over again. I'm like, there's something here, and people have to hear it to actually, know what we're talking about. I think when they go through all the
Yeah.
songs on there, they'll say, "I got it now. I understand it." They can't compare it to any other previous Burning Star record, but yet it's Burning Star.
Yeah, and it still has the elements. I mean, Rhino is just such an incredible, powerful drummer. Anything that he plays on is going to have that huge drum sound, and it's going to have like these like really cool drum fills that I don't really hear a whole lot of people doing. I mean, if you listen to the song "Demons Behind Me," uh, there's some really incredible drums on that particular song. And we kind of had to fight a little bit to keep that drum track on the record because certain people thought that it was too much, that it was like bombastic, and kind of playing over the track, playing too much. And we said, no, hell no. That's what makes him a great drummer, that he can do that. That he can play like Cozy Powell and Tommy Aldridge. So that I think makes it a really good record to listen to. Ned's just turned into an incredible bass player, and I don't mean that condescendingly. Like I mean, he was always a really good bass player, but he keeps getting better. It's like. And when you reach a certain age, a lot of times, really, you're not going to get any better than it's like, okay, you shot your load, you've done
peaked.
whatever you're going to do, and you're not going to get better, so deal with it,
My wife tells me that every night in bed.
Then you get guys like Ned, it's like, he keeps getting better. I think, and I don't want to speak for Ned, but I think that honestly, he's very influenced by great bass playing, like Steve Harris and what's the guy from Rush?
Geddy Lee.
Yeah, Geddy Lee, and guys like that, And I think that Ned won't rest until he's acknowledged to be that good, and I think it's happening quicker than he thinks because the bass playing on this album is really, really good.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's no denying the talent of each individual band member and what comes out as a whole. I mean, you'll have people like Yngwie Malmsteen. I mean, one of the best guitar players out there, a talent through and through. But sometimes there's more focus on him and his notes and what he can play than the actual songs. Do you think that the ego of a band member or multiple members of a band who are talented in what they do can kind of destroy the band and its songs? Isn't the song the most important thing in the end?
Yeah, you're right. You really have to play for the song. I mean, I love Yngwie's playing. I loved it, especially on the first 3-4 albums, like Marching Out and the first one, and I also like the one he did called Odyssey with Joe Lynn Turner. I liked all those albums, and I mean, I'm not here to talk, to say anything negative about Yngwie, but he kind of lost that particular focus that he had back then.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, it's like that for a lot of bands. I mean, ego can destroy a band musically. I mean, listen, I love those first two Virgin Steel records. I still play them till today. Everything that came out after that, it was a different sounding band. Maybe it was David, and I don't want to get into like I said, talking about people. Maybe it's just his ego that got in the way of what he can do, and it wasn't enjoyable after that. It just wasn't the same music to me.
Yeah, I didn't hear the last part of it. Could you just repeat what you said?
Oh, I was just saying all the records after the second or third Virgin Steel record, I didn't enjoy them anymore because, David went off in a whole different direction. It became these big,
Yeah.
operatic productions, and that's not the band that I fell in love with. I mean, I'm not saying they're bad records, but they're not the
Yeah.
same. And sometimes it's a band member's ego that can, create that sound and style.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Virgin Steel too is the guitar player, that replaced me, Eddie, is great. He's an incredible guitar player. I would really love it. I don't know if Eddie's still in the band. I mean, I'm thinking he is, but I don't know. But if he's still in the band and they're going to record another album, I would really love to hear more of what Eddie is capable of, because the guy can play. There's no doubt about that, and I've always been more into guitar anyway than keyboards, and that was kind of one of the issues with that, with me and Dave, not getting along and calling it quits way back when, But I'll tell you something. Like, I like bands also that have keyboards, but not when the keyboard is too dominant. I really liked. I don't know if you remember Uriah Heep.
Yep.
But they were a great band, and I thought Mick, the guitar player, was great. So it's just a question of finding that right mixture. It's kind of like, you're coming up with salad dressing. How much oil, how much vinegar.
Oh, absolutely. Jack, with all the Burning Star records that are out there now, there's definitely a large catalog to go out there and perform live with. I mean, have you ever thought about going out there and just doing everything from your past catalog? The Jack Starr solo stuff from maybe his Devil Child, Guardians of the Flame, Phantom Lord. Have you ever thought about going out there and just just touching on a whole career catalog of your music?
Well, I definitely want, when we start playing out, which will probably be in the latter part of this year, and in 2023, I definitely want to include stuff that was a part of my early career, because it's like that's who I am, and that's kind of how I define myself and see myself. So yeah, there'll be a couple of Virgin Steel songs. There'll be some stuff from the first couple of Burning Star albums. There'll be some stuff from that album I did with Brett Forrester, which I thought was a really great album.
Great album.
Yeah, and by the way, that's coming out again because the new label that I signed with, Global Rock, they're one of the things that really made me happy is that they're going to put out the whole enchilada. They're putting out all 10 Burning Star albums are going to be reissued.
That's going to be great because a lot of people weren't able to get a hold of those albums over the years.
Yeah, and that it's just amazing that anybody is still interested in hearing it, but they are, and I'm grateful. It's like, who would have thought? You do years later, someone is going to actually be interested in hearing it. You're not even thinking you're going to be alive in 40 years. You don't know. Especially when you're like, when you're like 22, 23 years old. You're thinking you're invincible and you're never going to get old. That's what's going through your mind.
Yeah. When did that change for you? Because I know for me it was about 8 years ago.
Well, it started changing honestly about like 10 years ago. Yeah. And I started realizing, hey, we're all mortal. We're all here on Earth for a certain amount of time. We have to each other. We don't need to be dicks.
Yeah.
We really don't. And I try to live my life like that. I don't want to. I don't need to prove anything. How some people are. You talk to them and they're always like trying to make a point. It's like, just talk to me. And some people want to show how intelligent they are, or knowledgeable, or whatever, I've never really been like that, so I get along really good with people that aren't like that either. You can just shoot the breeze with them.
Absolutely. Well, I hope this new label actually goes back and re-releases the Guardians of the Flame record, because one of my favorite records that you ever put out. What a lineup on that with, Ned again playing bass with you, Joe Hasselvander on drums, and
Yeah.
Sammy Avigal. Sammy was I love Sammy. We spoke all the time. When he passed away, it killed me. Shmulek was a great
Yeah.
guy, and I would love to see that get re-released again.
Yes, and that album, which back then we called it Guardians of the Flame, and the title was Under a Savage Sky, but it's going to get re-released, but it's not going to be under a name that nobody ever heard of, Guardians of the Flame. It's going to be called Burning Star 6,
Okay.
Under a Savage Sky. And it's going to be the exact same album, but, I'll always remember the words that Joey DeMaio of Manowar told me, because I don't know if you remember, but I did sign, with Joey's label, Magic Circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we put out an album. Anyway, I don't know, one day I was talking to Joey, and we were just talking about, he was, because Joey's very, very intelligent, very curious, and he'll ask you the probing questions when you talk to him, He just gets to the bottom, and he basically said, Jack, he goes, why did you call that album Guardians of the Flame? And I thought, that's an interesting question. Then I said, well, what do you mean, Joey? And he goes, well, look, it's you and Ned. You guys pretty much have been collaborating forever. You've got an incredible drummer, Joe Hasselvander. You got Sammy Avigal, great lead singer. So why don't you call it a Burning Star album? And I said, oh, I don't know, maybe you're right. Then Joey looked at me and made me feel a lot better. He goes, Jack, look, you created a lot of goodwill with the name Burning Star. It's not like you've been putting out crappy albums. You've been doing good work. You created, some goodwill. Why don't you call it Burning Star album? Okay, that was like 10, 11 years ago. Now, fast forward to 2022, and I'm talking to Giles Lavery, our new manager, and I said, and I'm kind of like, timid, like, well, Giles, do you think, like maybe it might be a good idea to do a name change, because blah, blah, blah. It's really a Burning Star album. And he just said, of course, because that's a good idea. So we went with it. And when it comes out and gets reissued, it's going to be called Burning Star 6, Under a Savage Sky.
That's going to be great. I mean, I'm so happy that it's coming out again. And if it came out on vinyl, it would be even better.
Yes, I'm totally with you on that. I'm a vinyl collector. I mean, I collect record albums. I don't know why, but there's something about holding like a big album in your hand.
Yeah.
When you're listening to it and looking at the pictures, maybe reading the lyric sheet, whatever. It's just so cool,
Yeah, music is supposed to be that whole experience of going to the store, seeing that album cover, bringing it home, reading the lyrics. Bands would put pictures on the back, little things that you feel like they would just belong to you. It was like going to a movie or watching your favorite TV show. It was like the whole thing.
Yeah, and you discover like new things about it. I mean, sometimes, man, I would look at some of those Zeppelin albums, I don't know, 10, 20 times, or each time I'm listening to it. And I didn't notice that before. And you're like, it's just things that you notice, that you didn't, or even I didn't hear that before, because there was a lot going on all those early records, by Queen, by Zeppelin, by Rainbow, Deep Purple. Listen to it, the more you get out of it. And so that's kind of always been like my attitude, when you put out an album, it's like, really make it count. Make it like it could be your last album, and it would be the same thing like if I were an actor, and I was, acting in movies. I would not want to be in some of the movies that come out today, But
I
it's
get
so bad,
It's true. I speak to a lot of guys that have been around, with this scene as long as we have, and I always say to them, we have a whole new way of recording today. People can record albums in their bedroom with a machine. You don't have to go to a studio.
Yeah.
It costs you millions of dollars to put out an album. But I'm like, it's a different sound today than it was back then. I'm like, do you prefer, the old way of recording on a reel to reel or the digital? I always expect them to say, no, I love the old way of doing it. And none of them actually say that. They're like, no, I prefer it now. I can start and stop anywhere I want in a song. We don't have to rewind tape, try to match things up. I mean, you've been involved in both of these type of recording processes that are well known. I mean, do you prefer it the old way, or do you like the way things are done now in the recording studio?
Well, these albums actually have been done pretty much the old way. So, that's kind of, I don't know why we continue doing it that way, but we pretty much have. I mean, if you had a telescope and you could see how we start the process, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, literally, it's a cassette deck. Ned and I get together, we write stuff, and we put it on cassettes. And sometimes, when you get real adventurous, we'll take two cassette decks, have one cassette deck play a rhythm track, have another one that we bounce off of. But then, that's step one. Then step two is about, 10 years ago, I think, Ned got Pro Tools in his house, which is like a computer, recording program. So then we went and started making the demos on Pro Tools. And Rhino also had this really cool recording system. It was a Roland 8-track recorder with a built-in CD burner. And so we were making demos on, this kind of stuff on, and then we would send the files to Kevin Burns, who's the producer of the last couple of albums, and he's the producer of this album. And as for the guitar and also for drums too, there's something called reamping. Have you ever heard of that at all?
I heard the term. I don't exactly know what it means, but I've heard that term before.
Yeah, what it means basically is that you can take a clean signal from your amplifier, and so you put that on a file, and then the file can go to a real studio, not your home studio.
Got it.
Not your bedroom. A real studio that has all the really expensive goodies, the stuff that I can't afford, unfortunately. like $5,000 mics, like $10,000 guitar amplifiers, huge consoles and all that stuff. And so when Ned is very good friends with Kevin Burns, and they've been friends forever also. And Kevin owns this studio up in Maryland, and he's also an incredible guitar player. The guy recorded an album with Don Dokken. So, you can't be a slouch. You can't be bad and get to play with Don Dokken.
Yeah.
Not after George Lynch. He's got like pretty high standards. So anyway, Ned is good friends with Kevin, and he's always gotten Kevin to help us and work with us, and so getting back to what we do, so we send these tracks to Kevin Burns, and these are clean. When I say clean, I mean like there's no distortion, no delay, no nothing. And then Kevin will reamp them, which means running the signal again, but through really good equipment, through the kind of equipment that the big guys use.
Yeah.
And I mean the big guys, Iron Maiden, Saxon, Accept, and presto, we get that sound just like they do, it's because it's tough to get that sound in your bedroom with no help, without, without at some point having a professional studio get involved. And so we get that with Kevin, and I think if you listen, like Souls of the Innocent, one of the things that I'm really proud of, and it's because lots of guitar players are going to say, well, I'm really happy with my leads, I'm really happy with this, with that, but really none of that matters if it doesn't sound good.
True.
It's got to be well produced. It's it has to have a big, fat, clear, heavy sound. And thank you, Kevin Burns, if you're listening, brother, because man, we wouldn't have that sound right now without him.
He definitely created magic on this record. There's no doubt about it. Jack, I'm not going to keep you, man. We've been talking a while. I'm going to play some songs off the new record. I mean, it comes out the 15th, tomorrow, technically. This was going to air Sunday on the Sunday Night Show, but it comes out tomorrow on Global Rock Records. I mean, what do you got coming up for this year? Anything happening this year? I mean, you're in Florida, so COVID don't exist there. You can go out and play all the time.
Yeah, we're going to be doing some shows at the latter part of the year, and right now, the cool thing is that this label is really making acceptance in America a big deal. Like all the other labels that I've been on really didn't really care whether anybody in America was getting the album, or whether they were going to review it or whatever. So because we're starting to build the fan base in America, I really can envision us playing in our own country. What a concept.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to happen. I really do. So I'm really happy about that. And all your listeners, really just check it out. Check out the album. I'm not going to sit here and say it's great or it's the best thing since sliced bread, but I think we made a real good metal album. And go to YouTube, type in Jack Starr's Burning Star. There's going to be 3 videos starting tomorrow. Demons Behind Me, I Am the Sinner, and Souls of the Innocent. And then just go to Global Rock Records and get more info, because it's pretty cool. We're all really happy with it, actually.
It's definitely another shining star in your collection. Keep them up, my friend. And listen, if you ever make your way back home to New York, let me know. We'll go out and have a drink.
That sounds wonderful. Let's do it, man.
You got it, Jack. Take care, my friend. I'll talk to you again real soon.
Okay, you got it. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take me to your leader, bring me to the source.
right, brand new Burning Star, All Out War. After 40 years, Jack still knows how to deliver. I want to thank him for being on tonight's show. I want to thank Peter Andersen of Alien Force for being with us tonight. We're going to wrap it up with one more song off the brand new Burning Star record. I will see you guys next Sunday night. Dave Enos of Emerald is our guest. He'll be on the show live next week. And then we're taking the last weekend of the month off while I go on vacation with the wife. So here you go, River of Blood, brand new Burning Star.